Well, that's not exactly what I had planned, but we're getting there. Trying to get the straps fast, and that was not fast on the straps. But practice makes perfect. Better turn the music down so YouTube doesn't get mad at me. Oh no. That might be better. Still loud enough. So we're just messing around with the axle bar deadlift today. Doing my working sets with, what is it? 375. And then going to do some, just rep out. Well, it'll be 405. I mean, whatever, it's close enough. Just see how many times I can do 400 tired. Because, the deadlift ladder I'm not going to get tired before I get to 400. But it's just the idea of making it harder than it's going to be. So, in April, everything will seem really light and fast. Hopefully, that's the plan. So, clearly, this is almost there, I'm still in this weird off season for powerlifting, on season for strongman. So, deadlift's something I'm okay at. So, I want to just keep going with it. And might as well sort of get reps and heavyweight all at one time if I can. Because I know the year I did both, it worked out really well for me. Especially the deadlift and the powerlifting meet after having to do the axle for so long. Before that, it just made it so much easier. So, let's see, what's new? Well, I was thinking about in Mark where Jesus talks about what it really means to be a follower. And it's now there's some, different conversations Jesus has about this with different people. He says that, different ways to get their attention, So this crowd, I guess, needed to hear it the way he said it. It's like, if you love, this more than me, if you love that more than me, if you love this more than me, you're not worthy of me. Which kind of flies in the face of what you hear today. Church is all about you now. But Jesus says it's not all about you, it's all about him. So the problem, of course, right off the rip is it's pretty easy to sit here and say, well, they're doing church wrong. Well, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. And particularly this weird conglomeration of deconstructed Christians, and if you don't know what that is, maybe I'll get back to that. And then progressive Christianity, and maybe you don't know what that is either, but it's how they sort of come together to create this new kind of Christianity in the world, which isn't anything but the same old heresies from all time. They're just renamed, rebranded, repackaged, trying to be cool again. They were never cool the first time. They've always been disproved. And especially, let me say this again, they're not new. I don't care if you've never thought of this before. Just because you never thought of it before doesn't mean it's new. Read the Bible, you'll see it all over the New Testament. They were fighting these same dumb ideas 2,000 years ago. It's not new. It's just got a new face and a new name, but it's the same old garbage. So think about that, because I got to get my second set in here, and then we'll get into some more talk about this, because it's just one of those things that I keep going back to because I really like talking about it and thinking about it, and reading about it, and hearing what other people say about it right here on YouTube. All right, so probably need to go back and explain some things. What is deconstruction? Well, deconstruction is essentially where someone who used to be Christian has gone what used to be just called apostate, or other people might call it backslidden. But no, they gotta make it sound cool. So nowadays they call it deconstructed. And so essentially they just go back mentally through all their beliefs and, deconstruct, tear apart, what they used to believe. And a lot of them don't actually leave Christianity, and that's what creates the problem. So you combine that with what you call progressive Christianity, which is people that have just sort of always been on that fringe. Well, I wouldn't even call it a fringe. They're out there, since we're using golf terms, they're not on the fringe. They're not even in the rough. They're out there in the trees somewhere with their beliefs. And because they're combining, politics and social justice and wokeness and all this whatever, again, same old stuff, new names, and, wanting to appeal to Christians with a certain type or brand of Christianity. So the progressive Christians mate really well, literally and figuratively, with the deconstructed people, not Christians. I just have to use the right terms so you know what I'm talking about, but I don't like some of these terms. They're not accurate. You're not a deconstructed Christian. You're not a progressive Christian. If you've deconstructed, you never were a Christian. If you're a progressive, you aren't a Christian. And I know that might hurt some people's feelings, or might not. I mean, it might help people understand better, what's really going on. Because part of what they like to do is make things more confusing for some people. But they're trying to appeal to, a certain type of person too, to bring them into their group. I wouldn't call it a church, just their group. They want these people in their group because, people feel validation if they've got a lot of people that believe the same thing they do. Whether it's true or not, doesn't matter. If you got a lot of people doing it, you kind of feel validated, right? I mean, that's, Scientology and Mormons and all these types of cults out there. They all feel really good about what they're doing because they've got a number of people, doing it with them. So, there's that. So now you kind of understand where that's going to clash, because some of the things that they're all about would be a lot of stuff you kind of hear in politics, because of course that's trying to be cool, trying to fit in with everybody and everything. So you're going to hear, inclusivity and equality and, as if the Bible doesn't have clear teachings on those things. I mean, the Bible will clearly tell you if you want to be great, you got to be the servant. The Bible definitely turns a lot of things upside down for people and definitely does challenge what a lot of societal norms are. But again, we have to do those things the biblical way, not the deconstructed progressive way, or we're just doing it wrong. So I'm going to do another set 3, which is good. And then, we'll get back to this passage in Mark because it's one of just a lot. I mean, I could do a whole series about this and just go passage after passage of, what Jesus personally says about these things and just how he completely and totally rebuts everything that these people are doing and stand for. And again, if Christians weren't just so lazy and superstitious in a lot of denominations and circles of them, pockets of Christianity, they would have seen this coming and been better prepared for it. Because this is not new. It's nothing that hasn't been around for 2,000 years or more. And so what you're going to end up with is, Christians feeling blindsided or, just confused and unprepared. Well, that's what you get. Because on your part, you haven't been studying, you haven't been thinking, you haven't been, paying attention to what people have been writing that are Christians kind of warning you about this kind of stuff for the last 100 years or more, but just particularly in the last 100 years in the American church. People saw this coming, talked about it, wrote about it. But the church was too busy, worrying about what kind of pants you wore, worrying about what version of the Bible you read, worrying about who was going to get the splash pit for the VBS next summer. Just basically majoring on minors, although Bible translation is important. It's the fact that people want to fight over one in particular. Stop it. Stop it. You're not helping. You're not helping. So, set 3. Set 2 is good with the straps. Get set 3 right. Just got to get it locked in a certain way. Then we'll throw the 400 on there. See if we can't get a few. Okay, that sucked officially. I got to figure this strap situation out. They're too big, and I keep doing little things to work with that, but I can't have that happen at the competition either. So, because I only did 4 reps. I wasn't gonna wreck myself with that. So anyway, point is, I got time to fix things. Yay. Christians don't. They're in a hole because they put themselves there. Now, I'm not going to even say we put ourselves there because there's no we in certain situations. There's you screwed up, fix it. And I know it's like, that's a mean thing to say. Quit worrying about mean things. Worry about getting the gospel right and not pushing your own agenda in front of it. How about that? So that's why I say you fix it, partly because of cult I grew up in, but it's been easy for me to not worry about these little piddly issues that aren't important and only worry about the gospel. Look, the first time I go somewhere to preach, the last thing I'm worried about, the least important thing I'm worried about is how they're going to take it when I say something. Because the very first thing I'm going to do is go gospel. First time. First sermon. Oh, and then second sermon, third. Every time. It's always about the gospel. There's so much to talk about, so much ground to cover. And so it's going to be repent and believe every time. Not worrying about how somebody's going to feel about it. Or what, kind of this or that or the other thing. And it's pretty refreshing to hear that or see it or whatever you want to say, because Paul does it all the time in Acts. And it's funny because there's so many accounts of Paul specifically, but that'd be crazy. All the apostles talking, preaching. But because Paul's so well documented in the book of Acts, it's cool because then you kind of get to see the comparisons and the contrasts, where he might go somewhere and the first day he's getting, kicked out, getting arrested, getting a beating, getting thrown in jail. Then somewhere else he might go and stay 2 years, year and a half, a couple of different times. He stayed pretty long term a few places. Didn't seem to really have issues with anybody. Left on good terms. Didn't leave, because he was being persecuted or anything. He just left because it was, God needed him to go somewhere else. Or he needed to go check up on, places he'd already been. So, yeah, there's that. So how does this get back to Mark? I said I'm going to get back to the Mark passage because I kind of need to wrap this up. So in Mark, Jesus, like I said, if you love this more than me, if you love that more than me, you're not worthy of me. Well, what's Jesus talking about? Some things would be easy. It's like, if you love your job more than me, yeah, okay, I don't like my job anyway. Maybe you say to yourself, or your house, or your car, just, stuff. If you love your clothes more than me, maybe people love their clothes. I'm all about just simplicity. I was seriously thinking about, buying, this one pair of pants that I know are comfortable and I can work in, and just throwing away all my other pants. Let's keep it simple, But then maybe that could be the problem. I love that type of pants more than Jesus. No, Jesus was going really, really, really hard on these people. He said, if you love your parents more than me, if you love your spouse more than me, if you love your siblings more than me. Oh, that's not the same thing, is it, anymore? And if you want to draw hard lines of that, sometimes you might even say, well, yeah, because, that's kind of you see people's priorities. It's like, oh, we're going to leave church early because family this and family that. It's like, well, maybe tell your family not to schedule stuff during church. I don't know. But, that's just a modern sort of example of something Jesus said 2,000 years ago. We always act like we're so detached from it. Like, no. That's a great example, I think, of what Jesus was talking about. So, what are you going to do with the gospel? Are you going to dumb it down and make it about you? Or are you going to make it about Jesus? And are you going to live it for Jesus? Or are you trying to twist it and make it all about you? That's the real, the real issue, I think, that we're talking about with this whole deconstructed, progressive version of Christianity and being a biblical Christian. One of the things that should be to the top of the list is that distinction of who it's about. It's not about you. It's about Jesus. And, that's just, now we can make a really, really long list of things between these two, but I feel like that would have to be near the top. So, with having said that, I'm going to try to deadlift this a few times, and if it feels good, I'll be happy. If it doesn't feel good, I'll still be happy, because I'm going to have a good day because I want to. So, I'm about to do this, and I might look really accomplished, or I might look really stupid on YouTube. The biggest thing I'm trying to figure out with these straps is, just twisting them the right way when I get them on. But, you don't want to stay like hunched over the bar too long either. You need to be able to get tight, strap in, drop, and then, getting all those form technique things in order as quickly as possible. Mainly because you can't hold your breath for so long, but also just so your body isn't in a weird position for too long either. You want to be able to go from the standing position to gripping the bar to the deadlift finish position. I mean, that part needs to be super fast. So, there's a lot of ways to do it. One way I've been doing lately is going down on my knees, because that way, at least from the knees up, this is all straight and get my breath right. And that's what we're just going to do now, because I'm having trouble bending over and getting these straps right. Because this is a lot easier. I'm also practicing without having any markings on this bar. So I don't know where the middle is, I don't know, really where my hands are in position to anything. And I know that scares a lot of powerlifters. I get so freaked out by stuff like this. And so it's good. It's a good mental exercise too, because it just gets you in the, we're going to just do it. We're not worrying about all these stupid little things. Just get the main things right. That way, if you're fortunate enough to get to the meet and the bar does have tape or something on it, again, we're practicing it hard. If we get to the meet, it's going to be easier. Awesome. Oh, yeah. Let's just call it a day right there. Some days are like that. What do? Because there's no sense in hurting myself this far out and then not being able to recover right. So, what's the positive? I did 10 more pounds on my working sets this week than I have been. So, am I going to worry about not doing the 405? No, of course not, because I did it 9 times last week, but I didn't do that much weight in the 300s prior. So, you take the 2 weeks and put them together, I'm good, Because last week I treated it like the deadlift ladder, forgot to wear the belt, still did it. This week I did a heavier working set load. So 400 felt funny and I didn't want to finish that. I'm good with it. No sense in hurting myself. I got the heavy last week. I got the work in this week. Go out and have a good day if you want to.